My 2005 Toyota Tacoma was a really great truck. I showed you this thing in many of my videos doing repairs and upgrades, but after nearly 17 years it was time to get something new, so I replaced it with another Tacoma, and this one's a 2021. I've had this now for about 3 weeks, and I'm really liking just about everything about the truck, except for one thing, where I think Toyota really messed up. Now my original truck was a 2-wheel drive, which meant that the bed was a lot lower to the ground, but this truck is 4-wheel drive, which means the bed is about 10 inches taller, so getting in and out of it is a lot more difficult, and I'm definitely not getting any younger. And it's not just me, this is a common problem that a lot of people have, and that's why Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge have all engineered different ways to make getting in and out of your bed a lot easier. But Toyota didn't do anything to solve this problem, and this was the mistake that they made, not really thinking of their customers. So I went online to the forums to see what others could recommend or maybe give me some advice. Turns out they've got this accessory called a bedstep, and everybody online was going crazy saying that if you get one of these, it'll totally solve the problem. I ordered it from Amazon, but it actually shipped directly from a Toyota dealer, and I paid just over $200. That kit definitely isn't cheap, but once you get it, you're going to be impressed at how well made this thing is. You do have to put a few things together before we can get started mounting it to the truck. So you put that small plate on top of the pedals, and then you're going to bolt the bracket right through that plate into the pedal assembly. And then you've just got to tighten them down, but you're going to run into a problem right away because there's no way you're going to be able to hold on to that bracket while you're tightening those bolts. Now the directions say that you can put that thing in a vise, but the vise is going to mess up the sides, and some people don't even own a vise, but fortunately there's an easy way to work around this. Just grab some type of a rubber mat, or you can even use your cargo mat if you've got one in the back of your truck, and just hold the bottom of the pedal down with your foot. And now with our bracket good and tight, we can go underneath the truck to get the rest of the job done. But you can only put this pedal assembly on the left-hand side of your truck, and on the right-hand side you've got your muffler, so there's just no room to put it in. You're going to start by removing these two existing bolts. They're 17 millimeters, and these things are in there really tight. You can go ahead and try to use your regular ratchet, but you're probably not going to be able to get them to budge. And you've got a few options. You can just use your existing ratchet and go ahead and put a cheater pipe on there, which is just some length of pipe that slips over the handle. And that should give you enough leverage to get those bolts out, or you can use an impact wrench if you've got one. But I'm going to use this extra long ratchet. This one's about 18 inches long, and I can get off just about any bolt with this. Now this one's a snap-on ratchet, but I've linked a couple of less expensive ones in the description that will work just as well. I can just use one hand and they easily come out. Once you break them free with the long one, you're going to want to switch back to the shorter ratchet because these bolts are really long. Now we can install our new pedal assembly, so those bolts will go right through the bracket into the existing holes where they were. But it's kind of a tight fit in there, so you're going to want to use some type of an extension on those bolts to get them started. And because you can't really see the bolts as you're putting them in, you're going to want to start them off by hand and then tighten them up. Now one way that can make this a little bit easier is to use something called a palm ratchet. This one's only about 20 bucks, and I found this model works really well, especially in a tight situation like this. This is just going to speed up getting them into position, and then you can finally break out your ratchet, or if you want to go ahead and use a torque wrench, you can tighten them to the manual specifications. I've got my torque wrench here set to 90 Newton meters to put them in. Now if you don't have a torque wrench, you're going to want to put them in by hand, and you're going to make these bolts as tight as possible. Once that torque wrench clicks, we know we've got the right setting, and the directions actually say they can be plus or minus 15 Newton meters, so I'm going to make these just a little bit tighter to make sure they're secure. And now we've just got to install our pedal. You need to insert these weld nuts into these slots on the pedal, but you've actually got a couple of choices, because the pedal can be installed in two positions. One of them puts that pedal really close to the bumper so that you kind of don't see it, but anytime you want to use it, you're probably going to have to reach down with your hand to extend it. But if you move all those tabs over one position, that means the pedal is going to stick out about an inch to the left, and you can use your foot to put it down anytime you want. Once you get everything lined up, you can just put that pedal into position, and then you need to press it down. But you've got to use these 3 Allen bolts they include in the kit to tighten everything up. But save yourself some frustration because those bolts are actually standard, and they're not going to work with metric size Allen wrenches. The rest of the kit was metric because you were reusing the existing bolts on your truck. And double check to make sure you're using the right tool because sometimes these bolts can change, but the ones I'm using here is 7/16. The directions do give you torque values for these nuts, but I don't have a tool that goes that low, so I just did it by hand and tightened them as much as possible without going crazy. And with those bolts tightened, the good news is our bedstep installation is complete, and now we can try it out. And when I'm focusing my camera on this thing, it looks like it really stands out like a sore thumb. But if you go back to the thumbnail of this video, I bet you can't even see that this thing is installed, and it really is pretty low profile when it's retracted up. And that's how it works. You can either use your hand or your foot, and you just give it a press down, and now that step is ready to use. And if you're looking to make your life just that little bit easier, this pedal is definitely something to get, and I can tell you after using it just for a week, this thing is easily paid for itself, just in terms of comfort and not having aggravation every time I get in and out. And if you already own one of these bed steps on your Tacoma or another truck, be sure to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think. And if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already for more videos coming up.